A brand new report just dropped in Northern Colorado and a number stopped me dead in my tracks. 47,500. This is how many homes Larimer and Weld County need to build over the next 10 years just to keep up. That's not a wish list, that's a warning. So today we are going to break it all down. Where does this number come from? What's happening nationally? How does Northern Colorado compare? And most importantly, what does this mean for you as a buyer or seller here in Northern Colorado? My name is Patrick Sukup, and this is the Fort Collins Lifestyle Channel, where we are coming to you and breaking down what's happening in Northern Colorado and how it's impacting you as a homeowner, buyer, or seller here in Northern Colorado. Let's jump right in. So here is the Northern Colorado report. 250 city members came together, CEOs, hospitals, schools, everybody came in and listened to this Housing at a Crossroads report. 80% of homes in Larimer County are unaffordable, meaning they are spending more than 1/3 of their income on housing. And that number drops a little bit in Weld County, but still is at 65%. There is truly an affordability gap here in Northern Colorado. And one of the main reasons, between 2015 to 2025, home prices have jumped over 100%, somewhere between 100 to 200% in some areas. And rents went up as well, not nearly as much, but still pretty significantly. So here we are at a supply gap need. Over the next 10 years, Northern Colorado, Larimer and Weld County are going to need 47,500 units, 27,000 of which are going to be for sale. 20,500 are for rent. And that financial gap is near about $18 billion in today's dollars, or $1.8 billion annually over the next 10 years. And there are 5 key factors of why that is a very big challenge and why is that bad. Number 1, population growth. Weld County has been the fastest growing county in all of Colorado since 2020. Our population, currently sitting around 750,000 people between Larimer and Weld County, is expected to exceed 1 million people over the next 20 to 30 years. A lot of that's going to be in Weld County. 2, the houses that are being built aren't necessarily matching the demographics and the houses that need to be built for today's household size. In 1980, the average household size was about 2.7 people. That's down to about 2.55 people today. But today, houses aren't getting built smaller, they're getting built bigger and bigger. The economics around how houses need to be built and what makes sense for builders, because it's more expensive. There are so many different challenges, but is a bigger house on a smaller lot. Number 3, the affordability gap is real. When 80% of the population are spending more than 1/3 of their income on housing, that is a true crisis. Number 4, building permit costs. In Fort Collins and Loveland, it's estimated for a building permit around $135,000. Now, they didn't break it down, but that's, I'm sure, between water tap fees, utility fees, permitting fees, all of the ancillary costs before you put a shovel into the dirt. For perspective, in Denver, a building permit costs only around $65,000. Now, again, some of these numbers are thrown out there that you don't necessarily get to dig too deep into them, or I haven't seen where it is, but water taps across Colorado are expensive and probably only going to get more expensive. Number 5, and this has been a challenge forever, is zoning. Zoning was built around kind of this, let's only allow specific things to be built in different areas. But that has put a constraint on what can be built where. And Colorado as a whole has been trying to overcome this with the ADU laws, allowing for bigger lots, less square footage on the lots, less parking spaces. Parking in general has decreased how much housing can be built in different areas because you have to allow for cars. But with technology advancements, there's a lot of different challenges. But number 5 is zoning in general. Now, this isn't just a Northern Colorado problem. This is a United States problem. There is a housing shortfall of anywhere between really 1.5 million to 5 million, depending on what source you're looking at. And the most common figure is 3.7 million by Freddie Mac in 2024. And Realtor.com actually updated their figure to a $4 million shortfall in 2025. And right now, the deficit isn't necessarily shrinking, it's actually increasing. In 2025, there were $1.41 million households formed, but only $1.36 million housings completed. So there was still a $50,000 shortfall adding to that total in 2025 alone. And that's been going on for more than a decade, nearly 20 years. Because in 2008, the financial housing crisis, builders essentially stopped building. The industry cratered and has not necessarily recovered since that time. From the early 70s to 2000, the United States was building about 1.5 million houses per year. But when the crisis happened, we dropped all the way down to about 1.2 million houses, and we really haven't recovered. Getting that shortfall, like I said, anywhere between 1.5 to 5 million, right around that 3.5 to 4 million housing shortfall. And even on top of that, what's being built isn't necessarily what is desired or demanded right now or needed for the affordability. In 1976, 35% of the homes that were being built were under 1,400 square feet. By 2020, that number dropped to only 7%. And in today, that's just around 10%. So the intro starter home for the majority of people to get in isn't necessarily being built. And compound all of that with the lock-in effect from sellers who might have a mortgage rate between 2.5 and 3.5%. It's a really hard pill to swallow if you're a seller and don't necessarily have to move and you're saying, hey, if I'm going to be moving laterally and I'm going to be selling my 3.5% mortgage and I'm going to be going and getting a 6.5% mortgage, there has to be a pretty dramatic reason for me to do that. So what does that do? That keeps historic resale levels at a historic low. So not only are new construction homes not being built to the amount that we need, there's not enough resale inventory coming onto the market for that recirculating economy that needs to happen. So what does this mean for you as a buyer and a seller? If you're a buyer and relocating to the area or moving within the market, here's the honest picture. The good news is this is not 2021. We are not in a frenzied market with 20 offers happening, often, very rarely it is, but we are seeing buyer demand in the area. Inventory has been higher than it has been in years, and interest rates have actually pulled back from their highs of 7.5% to 8%, closer to about 6 to 6.5%. There are homes available, and sellers are negotiating, and that is real. The hard truth is, yes, there is a supply and demand gap. There isn't necessarily enough supply to meet the demand that is here, and that's not gonna go away overnight or even the next 5 to 10 years. If anything, it could get worse. So what does that mean for you? Well, home prices aren't gonna get dramatically more affordable, and prices aren't going to crash. They're supported by a shortfall that is documented, and if you're waiting for prices to crash, it's probably not gonna happen. So my advice for buyers is stop trying to time or wait till the bottom of the market. Think about what a house looks like for you today with the finances, interest rates, what your life looks like over the next 3 to 5 years. And if buying a house makes sense, do it. And if you're a first-time home buyer, look at those townhomes or condos in communities like Prairie Song or Rain Dance or anywhere in Johnstown. There are great options there. And one of the best pieces of, not advice, but one of the pieces of information I was told by a first-time home buyer, 19 years old, was I just have to get a piece on the board. And that's true. It is a game. You've got to get on to play. So many homeowners are getting and building their equity over time and being able to parlay that sale of the condo into their first-time single-family detached house, into their move-up home, into their forever home. But it is something that really, I talked with a client just the other day, and he said, realistically, we got about $150,000 of appreciation over about 10 years. So that's $15,000 extra of savings, of equity, however you want to call it, that they're able to parlay into their next home where they just wouldn't have that otherwise, let's say if you were renting. There are a lot of incentives from new builders and new development and new communities. We would love to explore that with you. Get a locked-in 3.99% fixed interest rate for 30 years. If affordability is an issue and a concern, there are ways to negotiate around that. Like we talked about earlier, inventories are at levels we haven't seen in years, and sellers are willing to negotiate. Negotiate in the form of seller concessions. And if you're relocating here to the area from Austin, California, Florida, and you're coming up from an area where their homes are $2 million, $1.5 million, the purchasing power is still here. Now, if you flip the coin, what does that mean for home sellers? If you're already a homeowner here in Northern Colorado, this data is good for you, even if it's a frustrating reality for the community in whole. Generally speaking, when supply is less than what demand is, prices tend to hold pretty strong, if not increase. Now, I wouldn't expect anything like we saw in 2020 to 2022 where prices were just blowing out the sky. Now, if interest rates do to fall to the 3 to 4%, that could absolutely happen. But regardless, values are holding strong. Home equity is real and it's powerful. Whether you're looking at a home equity line of credit, cash out refinances, there are plays here if you are already a homeowner. And if you're seriously thinking about selling, you've got to adjust your expectations from that 21 price point. Pricing your house appropriately and at market value, even if it's 1 to 2% under what you think market value is, there is a strong pool of very qualified, ready, willing, able buyers who are out there looking for that well-positioned and well-priced house. Quality homes in desirable locations are still moving. Days on market have extended a little bit, so yeah, you might be on the market for 40 to 60 days before you close, and you're not gonna be at that 25 to 30 days, and inventory is ticking up a little bit, but still nothing to be too scared about. The biggest question is, what do you do when you sell? The move up dilemma. Are there gonna be homes in a price point that makes sense affordability-wise, giving up that 3% mortgage and buying that 6.5% house at a little bit higher price point? That challenge is real, and again, why the inventory in the market is on a relative freeze as far as the new or the resale homes go. So the long-term view, if you're a homeowner over the next 5 to 10 years, this is great news. Your home equity position is gonna remain strong, and you're gonna be in a place where it's a growing area where the demand is still absolutely here and growing. And if you're a homeowner, this is good news for you. You bought in a place where people want to live, and the report just confirmed that. 47,500 homes shortfall will need over the next 10 years. Now, what's being done about this? How can we overcome this? I don't know if we can. The NOCO Foundation has a $7 million down payment assistance program because one of the biggest challenges for people to get into home ownership is the down payment. Now, this is a loan program and you're gonna have to pay it back, but it is a way and opportunity for you to get into that home. And if you're gonna be in the house for 5, 10, 15 years, that loan that you take today is gonna be on a smaller percentage of the potential price appreciation you're gonna see on that house over the next 5 to 10 years. All cities in Northern Colorado are working to streamline their permitting process. Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland, they don't want it to take 3 years from a conceptual review to a dirt in the shovel. That time is money, which is ultimately passed on to the final homeowner, and they're trying to streamline this process. On top of that, in 2019, housing wasn't even a conversation for the city of Fort Collins City Council. Now in 2026, it's the #1 priority. And we're seeing that around other communities where city councils, town councils are saying, hey, we need to address this, and we need to make sure that people that want to move here can, and at a relatively affordable price point. And at the state level, they're working on zoning laws, density issues, things that can help make impact on a broader general basis than just individual cities making these decisions. Because the reality is Colorado itself is also seeing a shortfall, and they want to figure out how can we overcome this with what projects and plans and opportunities we already have at our fingertips. The water issue is real here in Northern Colorado, and you compound that with a drought type of season that we had in 2025 and 2026. We are working on water storages, a water supply. We are combating that. We are also having technology increases, but the reality is we live in a dry, arid community, and there is a shortfall of water. Wellington, they had a water sanitation. They needed more for the capacity of the community, and until that time, they increased utility rates for all those that were living in Wellington. In Severance, there was a moratorium on new building permits for multiple years until they could source the water for that area. Water in Northern Colorado and Colorado in general is of vital importance. Technology advancements, storage systems, things of that nature are being worked on. It's just very slow moving. Now, none of these are silver bullets, and that's still an $18 billion requirement over the next 10 years. But with it being in the forefront and kind of like in the crosshairs of our scope, maybe we can overcome some of these affordability challenges, supply challenges, the demand issues here in the area to allow for housing to be affordable to those that want to own. In my opinion, owning an asset, owning real estate is one of the best generational wealth builders that you could possibly have. And being able to get more people that want to be in it is a great thing. So if you know someone who is buying or owns a house in Fort Collins, send this video to them. Let them know what a strong position they have as a homeowner and as a buyer, not to be sitting there waiting to time the market. There are so many different stories of when's the bottom and did you miss it? And the stock is I think the stock market's a great, kind of analogy where if you miss the top like 3 to 5 days over a 10-year span, your return on your portfolio is significantly, dramatically decreased from those that just kind of sit in the market. Time in the market is better than timing the market. So if you know someone in that, send this video to them. I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.